Morning, Aries. The sun is coming up, so I've just been stopped and meditating on your energy. I've laid your cards already. And if you want to stay around, I can see this reading is really about battling largely with your brain, I think, in order to get yourself into a position of being important, of feeling seen. Oh, so lovely. That sun coming up is so lovely. Of feeling seen and of being in the centre of your own life. And it's a bit of a battle, but it ends up very well. So if that's what you want to look at, then do by all means stay around. So we've got you, let's dive in. We've got you, oh, where are the glasses? I dropped them. How infuriating. Seems quite strange. Anyway, no, I won't have. Give me one moment. Well, I've got another pair in here. Okay, we'll use the other pair. Sorry about this, Aries. Right, so you are turning up as the Wheel of Fortune in the beginning of the reading. And that's what sort of one of the things that's setting. When I saw it, I sort of thought you're feeling like enough is enough, I've got to move things on, or you're very much feeling that this is your time to jump in and affect some change, make things a little bit more about you in your core, who you really are, bringing that to the forefront. What's jumping out here when I look at these? The tail on the Anubis, and he looks very determined. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, okay, the birds are highlighting that. There's a determination, and that swishy tail, I wonder what that's got to do with. Anyway, so you are feeling very determined to move forward, and how that makes you act on the outside is as the Emperor, which the Emperor obviously is, well, not obviously, but is your card as well. So that's interesting. You're becoming more and more yourself. I think that's what we can say with some sort of sense of assurance, is that you are kind of getting really rooted in your own inner being. It could also mean that you're using a lot of, oh, sorry, this sun, it's so difficult to not just stare at it. It could also mean that you're using a lot of determination, discipline, structure in order to bring about this change. So let's have a look as we go along. In the basis of the reading, we've got the World and the Five of Pentacles, which is a very interesting combination. And I think that what it's saying is that you need to get out of this. This is what this is. If there's been any part of you that feels left out, not included, without the resources you need, without the community you need, very vulnerable, you are firmly not even just trying to get them into the church, but trying to get them into this centre of the wreath of success. I think this is the work that you're doing. And this is the basis of it. And it's interesting that we've got both 20 and 21 here, so there's a sort of culmination. Sorry, we haven't got 20 and 21, we've got 10 and 21, but the 10 comes halfway through the major arcana, and the 21 is the end. So maybe that says something about where you're at in your journey, which would be, halfway there, effectively. Both of these have the fixed signs around the outside. Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, fixed signs, brain going dead or going funny. Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, and Aries. No, you're a cardinal sign. Anyway, forgive me, I'll have to look that up. It'll probably come back in the middle of the reading. But the point is that, sorry, that's going to really annoy me. Taurus, Leo, Aquarius, and sorry about this. doesn't really matter. The point is the animals that signify these are surrounding both of these cards, both in the one that's at the basis of your reading and the one that is how you feel internally. So that fixed sign energy is sort of saying, I want to be steady, I want to secure something, I want to move into this kind of state of balance. And so that, I'm sure, is what you will do. In the recent past, we've got the Eight of Pentacles, which is saying that you're working away, doing what you do so well, with diligence, that there's a great sense of commitment, putting your energy to good uses. It is a stage card, so that means that this is just possibly a stage. And I'm seeing the golden strap on the back of his coat there. The stage is those two little white lines is what I'm referring to. Some of these cards in Pamela Coleman Smith have that, and she was a set designer, so we always think, well, there must be something that means something in that, which I think means it's just a phase, it's kind of going to move on, or that you're observing yourself in that way. As a potential outcome, we've got the Seven of Wands. Look, he's got a shoe and a boot. He is defending all of these different attacks on his person, but he's also barely coping. He's kind of giant-like because he straddles this huge river below his feet, and it's all sort of slightly out of kilter, the perspective. So it might feel as if your perspective as in this potential outcome is a little bit awry because things are maybe you're focusing, it's funny that I saw that, maybe you're focusing extremely strongly on yourself and your own needs, which is perfectly justifiable, but it might make all of the environment, those people that you're dealing with, out of perspective. And in this potential outcome, we don't see you settled yet with that kind of king type energy, the emperor type energy that we know is how you would like to be in the centre of your wreath of success. But it's okay because we've got another outcome coming. In the near future, we've got the Three of Swords. Absence, delay, and separation is how I always see it. How I was taught to read it. So some people immediately see heartbreak, and of course it's got those connotations. But I don't think that's true in this case. I think you're being delayed in this kind of shoring up your position. And that will be a bit frustrating to you. Your attitude, though, is the Page of Cups. You've got a very kind of young, dynamic, loving energy that's woken up in you, and that you're wanting to talk to your imagination with that beautiful fish in your cup, that you're feeling connected to your intuition with the lotuses on his robe. Again, a stage card. Now you see what I mean with those lines. But there's a lovely fresh, you're at a stage where you're feeling very fresh and enamoured with some project. And the project being you becoming more you being valued more highly, seen, putting to bed any sense of lack and being out on the outside, sort of feeling as if you're, I mean, it's funny, I was on the beach yesterday and I was thinking about, I had this book that I'd left here that was about shadow work, which I keep picking up and thinking, no, I'm not that interested actually. But it did have some core things in the beginning that I was talking to my boyfriend about, and we were like, you can really see where your core woundings might be, whether it's a sense of abandonment or neglect or any of those kind of issues. I feel there might be something like that you're trying to clear up, Aries and Curlew people, because there was a curlew singing when I came down this morning before the sun came up. It sings at night, and my boyfriend had opened the window and let me listen to it last night when he went out for a cigarette. He'd heard it. So curlew, I don't know what curlew signifies, but it was still singing then. So yeah, I feel like there might be, especially seeing as you're in your attitude, you're turning up as quite young and imaginative and innocent. I think there might be an element of that is the part that's being attended to, and we're not trying to grow it up and not operate from these core wounds, which all of us have. So yeah, that's what I think is going on. In the in your environment, we've got the Eight of Swords and the King of Swords. So again, I think this is amazing. This might be you feeling a bit victimized, like that Five of Pentacles, self-victimized, and sort of not realizing that she can get herself free of any of those. And do you see how she's sort of standing over that river that's slightly reminiscent of the Seven of Wands? It's you sort of, you know what it reminds me of? You know when, and I've had these moments many times and quite recently as well, so there's no judgment. But you know when you're feeling particularly vulnerable, so say you were stuck in this place of this inner child, one sees yourself as the centre and sort of larger than everything else. You can only focus on your own experience and need and lack and sense of victimization in this case. And it makes you feel larger than your environment. By which I mean more important than everyone else that's around and their needs and their story. So you can only focus on the perceived hurt, the slight. You get things out of perspective. And that comes from a core wounding, doesn't it? And I suppose that really is relevant for shadow work, because I think that's the issue when we operate from unresolved childhood issues. We project those out into every day and see them everywhere and perceive and attract to us all of those kind of experiences. And I think that in your environment, you're really in that stage of feeling a little bit sort of out of whack, out of, so concentrated on what's not working, on your victimization, that you've forgotten you can raise your sword of truth. But you haven't in this case, to unbind her from all of these, but you haven't in this case forgotten, because it's coming with the King of Swords, which I love. King of Swords is most like the Emperor. That's you, how you're acting in the outside. The Emperor is a combination of all of the kings, and you are using your sword of truth in the King of Swords to try in your environment and unbind these strange perspectives where you feel more important. Your needs are so large that you sort of forget the context of, you forget other people are also operating from their own shadow and dysfunction and whatever it is, and so therefore you don't get the full picture, because you can only operate from that initial script that somebody's doing something to you, or things aren't fair, you're being neglected, you're abandoned, you're shamed, whatever your core wounding might have been. Because we've all got shades of that. But I love this, because in your environment you're using your King of Swords to try and unbind that wherever you find yourself. And amazingly, in your hopes and fears, the Queen of Swords, his partner, turns up immediately after. And she's got the most incredible brain. She's incredibly positive. She's incredibly no nonsense. She's the friend you go to who you need to say what's really going on here, they will tell you. And so, therefore, she's also the kind of counsellor to your own self that would be incredibly intelligent. That's what you want now. And it's interesting, because I saw the Anubis so strongly when I first looked at you in the inner world. What's he holding? A sword. And I saw his tail. That's interesting. And his determined look. So the tail is almost sort of what goes behind you, isn't it? Although he's got his in front. I knew that would end up making sense. So it's like you're looking at your past, what you trails behind you usually, you're bringing to the forefront, and you're using determination and your sword of truth in order to break through. And then we've got all of this other swordy energy. This is your hope. I don't want to be under any illusions anymore. And where it's all leading, got a bunch of ants here. Strange that they're all over the table. They don't usually come so many of them. Is the wonderful King of Pentacles. Well, this feels like a much more stable, secure, physically wealthy, but also good custodian. It's like the kind of parent the perfect father, really, the King of Pentacles. And so this tells me that you are achieving your aim, because again, he makes up part of the Emperor, which is how you're acting. He's the great custodian, and therefore I feel like this probably is an inner child thing, putting you back into the center, which is in the basis of your wreath of laurel wreath. But also what's interesting here is because in this we've got the fixed signs, and the one that I can't remember for some reason or other, oh, it's going to annoy me anyway, but then, and we've got the fixed signs turning up twice in around the Wheel of Fortune and the world. But here he's surrounded in a somewhat similar way by these, let me show you, by just one of the fixed signs, Taurus. So do you see he's got two bulls either side of his head and two by his feet in the armrests of the chair. That, to me, particularly in this reading, is saying there's a security in Taurus. It's a sign that when it's in balance is incredibly secure, incredibly well looked after, like the way that you would look after a baby with great sort of care, physical comforts, food, everything as it should be, very rooted in this world, very grounded here. And maybe there's been part of you, if you've suffered some neglect, Aries, Curlew people, that didn't feel like that, didn't feel grounded, and now you feel, I love this, I think you feel really taken care of and well parented by yourself. And particularly we've both got the King and Queen of Swords, but the fact that we've got the Emperor and two kings turning up, I think it's in the fathering sense, in that sense of protection. So if you had an issue with a paternal figure in your life, maybe that's what's being resolved here, which is really beautiful. And then I've pulled two cards from this deck here, and I can't remember the name of it now. We've got the Queen of Torches and the Devil. That's interesting. So maybe this is how it makes you feel now. Passions being unleashed. Obviously this can be addiction and negative patterns and negative ties to other people. What can I see in it? But I feel... No, I think in this context, it's those kind of illusions that I was talking about with the Seven of Wands and the Eight of Swords, where you feel as if everything is coming at you. I feel those are being kind of subverted by, now you're in touch with your Queen of Wands. You can look away from all of that. Look, she's got her back to him. She's looking forward to what she wants to create. Her intuition is kind of off the chart because she's got a cat in front and a cat on her lap. What else can I see? Yeah, and look also what's so prominent here. The tail is in front again, like with the Anubis of the cat on her lap. But she's looking with great determination now away from this sense of being bound. And what's interesting about this devil is that this devil holds the male figure like a child. So it's sort of almost like being bound by something that was dysfunctional, a thought pattern, like your shadow work, the idea of I'm a victim, I'm neglected, I'm shameful, it's always my fault, I'm abandoned, any of those kind of ideas that you were being still held by, that your inner child was what you were bound to in a way. We can see that because, and it's interesting, it's with the masculine as well, because the feminine is behind, but the devil figure is holding on to the masculine. So, and all the wealth is, and the consciousness is trying to look away from this fact, look, the big face, towards the Queen of Wands, but in fact can't get free because there's still some inner small, your inner masculine, which we see so well balanced with the King of Pentacles, who looks after everyone, who's such a great custodian, who's so looked after himself. Your inner masculine has been victimized, so your yangy side, the side that gets things done, that's interesting. But now with these two, I can see that there's an unleashing of that energy and you're looking away from it. So it's really, really beautiful. I've got all my various different cards, not all mine. I've got a lot of cards here, so I'm going to pull you a few more. just to cap this and see if we get any other insights. This is Lua. Anything else that you wish to add? The High Priestess and the Six of Cups. Oh, it's so lovely. So it's like returning to your childhood, but in a nostalgic sense now, because you've got over whatever this shadow work is. You can start to sort of pull on the positive sides of it. And with the High Priestess, again, it's a bit like, I feel like your intuition is going to be on fire, because the Queen of Wands is incredibly intuitive, and the High Priestess is the definition of intuition. And in this image, she's sort of revealing herself a bit. So it's like pulling those curtains back. It's as if your intuition is going to be completely on fire when you can connect to what's healthy. And these two today are turning up to me a bit like the children in the secret garden, the healed version of themselves when they find that secret garden, and it gives them so much solace from all the things that were bad about their childhood, because the main boy and girl in the Secret Garden, which is a children's book, are both pretty neglected, spoiled children, but very neglected. And so, but when they reconnect with nature in this amazing garden through the help of another boy who's a bit Christ-like in the book, or certainly maybe Pan-like, connected to all of this, they suddenly are healed. And I feel this is what it's talking about, and it then puts your intuition back online in a big way. That's interesting, because we didn't see much of that in this reading, and it's a lovely indication of where you're headed. Creative, intuitive. What have we got in here? We'll get one from the Enchanted Forest card for you if you're still hanging around. Yeah, the Huntsman. This is beautiful. This is 11, so it's justice, I think, yeah. And I think what it's saying is that, you've got this, he's a bit like the King of Pentacles. He's the sort of good custodian. He looks after everything in the forest. I think that's how you're starting to feel. After this breakthrough, I think that's where you're going. You're going to start feeling incredibly well looked after and protected. And he is protecting those two little, a deer and her baby. Again, looking after what's more vulnerable. Looking after what's vulnerable is what's going to get you through. And the birds agree. Right. We've got some mystical moments, Tarot. I love these ones. What have we got from them? Yeah, and then the true happiness comes, the 10 of Cups. It's really a beautiful journey that you're on. 10 little fish, the rainbow, beautiful hair I'm looking at that she's got. Yeah, it's a balance, it's happiness. It's the happy family card. I think internally you're sorting out some things that might not have been happy in your childhood, and you're sort of recalibrating. Let's get you a little charm. What have we got here? And that is giving you a sense now of peace and happiness. We've got the Tree of Life, the Rose, and the Fairy. Oh, I don't know what the rose means to you. To me, I'm sitting looking at roses on these arches here. I don't know if you can see. The rose is a beautiful, soft, feminine flower with this beautiful scent, but she's allowed to be like that because she has her thorns. And it's reminding me a bit of this reading, because you've got your King and Queen of Swords. You put all your defences out, your Seven of Wands, in order to be able to bloom so beautifully, because once you're protected by this inner masculine figure that you're going to get sorted, you can really blossom. And then this Tree of Life just feels really lovely. It feels as if you're going on a bit of a shamanic journey. And then the fairies, that's your intuition coming online. That's your connection to nature, and things starting to get much more balanced for you. And this kind of, this intuition, because the High Priestess, I would say, is somebody who can really connect with all that is, and that's where all her knowledge comes from, and it gives her great power without having to put it into words. And then wonderfully from the Shining Tribe Tarot, we've got the Ace of Stones. This new physical, so this is the Ace of Pentacles, this new physical, incredibly secure start that you're starting with. I just love it. It's like the Ace of Pentacles is like a baby that we would look after. It's like your inner child, but it grows into the King of Pentacles. So you've got the, or the Ten of Pentacles, you know, you've got the yeah, it's just saying you're growing your security, you're growing this kind of energy, you're growing that kind of custodian energy. You need to nurture this. It's a beautiful, beautiful energy, but you must nurture it because you're going somewhere so beautiful. And so whatever the quest is that you're on, it's very, very good. I love this reading for you, Aries, Curlew people. Healing the inner child, growing all of that up, becoming able to stop seeing yourself as so victimized and therefore out of proportion in your environment, looking after all parts and the happiness that comes with that. See you again.